Hi, this is my second video in a series on Qigong Foundations about things that I wish I had learned earlier in the course of my practice. So I'm not going to address things from martial arts Qigong, the hard style Qigong, because that's not in my experience. But from teaching beginners, I've noticed, certain misunderstandings, and a lot of it is cultural, because we don't really have a model for Qigong in Western exercise. So Qigong, I've heard teachers, talk about this a little bit and say, that Qigong is the art of creating effortless power. But, is that gobbledygook? What does that mean? How do you move effortlessly? Well, they tell you that you move effortlessly, and you see them moving effortlessly sometimes. And I'm not criticizing teachers, except some of them are really good marketers, and they have all these interesting forms and things. It's like Instagram yoga. But, maybe sour grapes on my part. Maybe it's just that I think that what really people need from Qigong is the relaxation and the sense of connection that you get. And if you really want to be flexible, it'll help. Because it reduces tension in the body. But in order to reduce tension in the body, we have to have an understanding that we don't really use the muscles, right? How do we do that? We don't really use the muscles. We're working with the fascia. This was a big clue when I started learning about the fascia. Totally separately, I started learning about the fascia and understanding that the tissues that were talked about, in the Chinese classics it was the fascia, it was the fascial system. And so we use the qi, right? We use our energy, we use our movement to move the fascia, the connective tissue, rather than the muscles, and get rid of all of the tension in the major muscle groups. So this is like the first thing. And then the other problem, is that we don't understand where the movement comes from. So if we're learning Qigong on YouTube, we're going to go and find somebody doing a form. We don't really understand what the movements in the form are about. And the kinetic chains that create the movement, and the idea that the body needs to become a single unit and a single force in order to create this movement, that it's not just arms moving and legs moving and everything is disjointed. Most of us are pretty uncoordinated. I know that everything that I think about, everything that I teach is stuff that I was really guilty of for a long time. And when I learned it, it was like, whoa, this is different. And in some ways it's easier, and in some ways it's a lot harder, because you find that it's with the mentality that we have about exercise, it's really hard to not use the muscles. It's really hard to not push and think that we need to stretch farther, do more. But in fact, we don't. We need to generally pull ourselves back and do less, and understand the origin of the movement. Try to make the movement come from the center, to connect the body in these kinetic chains, the fascial chains. Understanding the way the fascia works will help understanding the way the movement is to be done. One of the things that my teacher stresses is practice before theory. This is really important, because I know that we can be limited by concepts. If we think we know something, we can't learn something. You can't pour tea into a full cup. We have to empty our mind of concepts and just get into the exploration. So every movement in Qigong is an exploration. And if you think you're trying to do something a certain way, there is a good chance that, you're being less than effective in your practice. It's better to see where the movement comes from. Then we're going to learn the theory, and then we're going to, when we practice again, then we start to, the body understands the theory, they confirm each other, and we're able to grow. I think it's important to try to feel where the movement comes from at first. and how to make that movement. And if you're watching YouTube videos of people doing Qigong, you know, what are they actually doing versus what are your eyes telling you and your experience telling you that they're doing? So we're going to start with just the most simple movement, right? Understanding that Wuji, I did a video on Wuji that shows you that the weight is towards the balls of your feet. We're looking in the distance as though we have a hat with a big brim. This puts the chin in the right position. We've softened our inguinal area. So this point relaxes, and from there the knee bends. And from there our tailbone is free. So it's really helpful to do a warm-up before you approach exercise. We're going to start by warming up the quad. It's important to understand that your bikini line, this V here, the very top, right? Put your fists there. So with the knees not moving, the knees stay, you're not twisting at the ankles, you're twisting internally. So it doesn't have to be much of a twist. It just wants to be a little bit of rocking. So just one hip comes forward and the other one comes back, and they're pulling away from each other. So the movement is like that. My spine is staying vertical. So the head position hasn't changed. The chin is still tucked. The shoulders are relaxed. So the elbows here, if you can use your elbows and turn, try to keep your hips and shoulders lined up and just turn from side to side. Just understand that this is an internal movement. It's not done from the outside of the hips. Try to get a sense what's going on in your low back. You can't do this with your butt sticking out. It looks like this, right? Maybe you look like this. Maybe you don't know that you look like this. You can't do this with your pelvis tucked. It looks like this. Your weight is on your heels. Don't let your weight go on your heels. Are you going to turn from your ankles? It looks like this. But my knees are stable. So that this area gets the stretch. And if you only move this much, this is good. This is going to open you up. Okay, so now let your hands come down. So the shoulders are over the hips. The tailbone is pointing towards the heel. The weight is towards the balls of the feet. The chin is level. Trying to create space between the ears and the shoulders. The elbows are slightly extended. That doesn't mean that I'm doing this, right? Because we tend to think, oh, if this is good, then this is better. Or we just do this because you think this is what I'm doing. It's not. So we're going to make this movement. So inhale and lift your hands. And exhale down. Doesn't get any more basic than this. Inhale. Exhale. So what are you feeling? We'll just do this for a while. Exhale. Inhaling. Exhaling. Feel what's going on. And then we'll take the movement apart. Relaxing, a relaxing movement. So this one movement this can be your Qigong practice. It's fine. This will relax you. This will start to allow your body to open. Just from this one movement, though, it's better to do, a few different opening movements. Keep it simple in the beginning. So let's take this apart now. How high are your hands coming up? Did you notice that my hands were just coming up to my shoulders? Or, I've been in classes where if I'm doing this, people are doing this, people are doing this, people are doing this. And it's not really what's happening here. What's happening is the movement is working in a spinal wave. The wave comes from the balls of the feet as the roots grow down into the floor, and the energy comes up your legs and pushes your hands up. So when the body is relaxed, the tailbone is moving towards your heels. But the low back, the butt never sticks out. The low back is soft. We want to keep the energy coming up from underneath the balls of the feet. So what else is happening? In order to do this movement, it starts with a downward movement from the hands. So I'm stretching open the joints in the arm. And then from here, I'm pushing the elbow forward so my shoulders never lift. And then when my shoulders want to lift, my hands are coming up from the elbow. So this gets me out of my shoulder muscles and just opening the fascia and opening the joints. So if you keep this really soft and connected, my shoulders don't lift. So when you just stretching the fascia, stretching the tissues that surround and encase the muscles, all the connective tissue, then the muscles can relax and your stiffness can relax. So this promotes mobility and flexibility. And notice that there's energy in my hands. So my hands aren't just hanging, right? There's energy, so I'm extending through my fingers. So think about extension, expansion of the joints. So extension is getting longer, not necessarily stretching. Extending is opening the joints, using the fascia to open the joints. The breath is soft and natural, so your belly is relaxed. Just letting your body breathe. I had a teacher who said the body knows how to breathe. Just be breathed by your body. So the whole body here is a pump, pumping chi and blood and oxygen by the movement of the legs. So the movement's coming from the balls of my feet to my ankles to my knees. My tailbone moves down. My spine is in traction. I can feel this gentle wave coming all the way up into the base of my skull. So this is just one movement. And we can slow it way down, maybe, and learn more and feel the low back stretching as the tailbone moves towards the heels. The back is always doing this. The spine is always in traction, so that we're extending the space between the vertebrae in every movement. Simple movement. If I were to go to a different movement, externally rotating, so I'm not extending from my hands, I'm using my elbows to pull my hands. So this, instead of thinking that I'm lifting my arms, which is going to get me into a whole place with my muscles, right? I'm now extending from my elbows. So there's a roundness, and this opens up all of the tissues towards your chest. And then I'm not going to the sides. You can't see this from the front, but very often when you think people are doing this, they're doing that. It's a more natural position for your shoulders that doesn't kick in tension, right? So you're externally rotating. And then the shoulders, are lifting from the elbows, but there's no muscles, right? So the tailbone is pulling down in this position. And you can see that I'm trying to create space in the shoulders and then reaching up to the corners, right? There's energy in my hands, so that now all I have to do is fold my arms and sink down. So I'm not doing a big stretching thing. I'm just moving the tissues. I'm just allowing the tissues to move softly. And this creates opening and allows the energy to flow. So this unwinds the fascia. Extending. And then my elbows, right, are dropping here. The weight of my elbows, using gravity to pull my hands down, pull my shoulders away from my ears. My spine is staying vertical. Gently moving. Gently moving. Let's do one more. Extending, extending. So stop here and feel. See, moving from the back, pulling the shoulder blades. So moving from the spine, creating space in the spine, staying vertical. The hands move forward. So here, I'm constantly extending. So I'm extending into the front from my elbows. Extending, and when I come up to here, I'm still extending. You can see that I'm taking up more space. Extending, extending. The chin stays level. When I come up, I can follow. I can reach higher. I don't want to get tension in my neck. I can still move my neck, and I'm not like this. So, which is where you see a lot of people. They do this. They're going to do. And the energy stops here. So, rather than that, reaching up, where am I moving from? My hips, I'm lengthening between my hips and my rib cage, allowing for all of this freedom in here to open. And then I can come down. So this is, another really simple movement. It goes externally rotating, reaching up, looking up, and turning back down, like flying, and the knees bend. And the energy starts in the foot, the knees lengthen, the groin lengthens. My knees are straight but not locked. The tailbone has to pull down here. So when you're up, your hands are likely to stick your butt out. So you want to lengthen your spine, and you see you get length in your body when you do that. And then you exhale down. Right, just a few more. So try to make this soft. Don't go into strain. Exhale, bending. Simple movement, just reaching up, stretching up, and this opens your rib cage, pulling the shoulder blades apart, not creating tension in your neck and in your face. Relaxing your jaw, relaxing your tongue as you practice. Notice the space between your eyebrows. You can look up, coming down. And we'll go back to the first movement that we did and notice if it's changed. And we'll close with this. So we did this too. Sinking down. Spine is long the whole time. Everything is easy and soft. Don't stretch into your muscles. Just let the tissues open. Remember the corners. 3 times. Hands on your belly. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and watch my Wuji video. And just, I'm going to keep doing this and talk about all the things that people talk about, but they don't really give you, that much information about, or also ways in order to connect to the parts of your body and sort these things out. Energetic alignment is really what we're trying to get here, and understanding how the energy moves through the body. Thank you.